Let's pick it up from there, the formal process. We are now going to cross live to Jack Parrock, who's going to tell us more about the talks there. He joins us live. Jack, good afternoon to you. Welcome to our program. Take us through this process. And let's take it up from your report that you have just filed now.
Well, so basically, the United Kingdom has had this referendum. 52% of the people voted to leave the European Union, but it was only an advisory referendum. What needs to happen is that the Prime Minister of the country needs to come to Brussels and say to the President of the European Council that the UK wants to leave and invoke this Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. That's EU speak for we want to go now. But the UK Prime Minister David Cameron has said that he won't do that and that he will leave that for his successor after he stepped down following the result of the referendum. But here in Brussels, they want that to happen more quickly, to remove uncertainty and also to try and put pressure to quell rising Eurosceptic parties in countries like France and Greece to try and prevent them from having a similar referendum to leave the bloc.
Now, one senses that there's tension on whether or not to speed up the process so that the European bloc can forget about the decision of Britain regarding the exit. On the other hand, other people are saying that Article 50 needs to be invoked so that the process can unfold, so that Britain can be able to establish its own bilateral relations and life must go on. So then where is the balance here?
Well, this is it. We're basically in a period of uncertainty now where nobody really knows what's going to happen once Article 50 is triggered. So as far as the EU side and the member states go, they want this to be wrapped up and over and done with as soon as possible. And there is some talk that some of the leaders are prepared to go quite hard against the UK in their negotiations about how they resolve these trade deals. But the UK wants a bit of time. They called for informal negotiations, some discussions kind of behind closed doors about how they'll progress once they invoke the Article 50. But the EU has said absolutely not. We will not discuss your future trade deal or your future relationship with the EU until you invoke Article 50. So it's a bit of a deadlock at the moment. But what needs to happen is a new leader in the Conservative Party in the UK needs to be elected, and then they will be the ones to trigger Article 50. But there are some people saying that that leader might not be willing to do it immediately and might call a general election in the UK. That could mean that perhaps if two other parties campaign together on a pro-EU ticket, they could get elected and try to reverse the whole movement of this Brexit referendum.
Right. Now, another development, we hear that Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, is meeting EU leaders to talk about Scotland remaining within the EU bloc. Well, what do we know about the meeting, and has it taken place yet?
She has been meeting. She's met with the European Parliament President Martin Schulz, and she's soon to meet with the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. Basically, she's trying to look into what the EU can do for Scotland if it chooses to have another referendum to leave. It's important to say that Scotland voted overwhelmingly to remain in the EU. Every single local authority area voted in favour of staying within the European Union. So Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, says that she has a democratic obligation to keep Scotland in the EU, and that she will go as far as leaving the UK if that's necessary, bearing in mind that her party, the Scottish National Party, is pro-leaving the UK as a union anyway. So at the moment there's a lot of talk about that Nicola Sturgeon has one of the power hands. The breakup of the United Kingdom would be a really damaging result of this EU vote from the point of view of many of the political leaders in Westminster in London. At the moment, we don't know quite what the European Union leaders have been saying to Nicola Sturgeon, but we assume that she's got them on her side.
Right, Jack Parrock talking to us live from Brussels, discussing the latest and fresh information, the latest from the EU leaders meeting there to thresh the issues of the Brexit and, of course, bringing it closer to home.